Rules of technology for teaching and learning.
Technology as a tutor. Together with the teacher, technology can support the teacher to teach another person, or technology, when programmed by the teacher, can be a tutor on its own. Ang technology, pwede hiyaan mag-guide mga teachers para magtutdo. The teachers use the technology as their pattern in teaching. Like, for example, the teacher uses laptop, projectors, and speakers in teaching. Siyempre, at mga teachers, kailangan nila technology to teach. This is why a big blessings to all teachers that the technology today is keep on developing, because they can search in the internet about their lessons to add on in knowledge. Technology liwat pwede gyapon maging tutor naton. For example, you could learn your math lessons from an online math tutor program that comes with a variety of support, rather than trying to figure it out by your own. The teacher will simply switch on or switch off radio programs of DVDs or CDs that contain educational programs. There are online tutorial education programs too. In short, the technology acts as a tutor because we can get some knowledge from the internet by searching information using internet. Technology as teaching tool. Like tutor, technology is a teaching tool but can never replace a teacher. This is like a handyman which is just there to be rich. Like any other tool, it is being used to facilitate and lighten the work of the teacher. It will be good if the teacher can also create or develop technology tools that are needed in the classroom. It is very difficult for teachers to teach a classroom without any support. Teaching tools is defined as an online resource that helps teachers with any aspects of their job. Teaching tools can help with everything from creating quizzes to promoting good behavior, and many educators find them incredibly useful. Examples of teaching tools: AnyDo, Live Binders, Class Dojo, Lesson Cast. Kitaliwat at ang ginagamit nating na teaching tool is Edmodo, Google Classroom. So God, in short, these are the tools that needed in the classroom and the teacher. Technology as a learning tool. While the teacher utilizes technology as the tool for teaching, likewise, it is an effective tool for learning. As a learning tool, it makes learning easy and effective. It can produce learning outcomes that call for technology-assisted teaching. Even teachers who are teaching can utilize similar tools for learning. As a learning tool, it is very interesting that even the elderly use these tools for learning for life. It is clear that technology is very effective in classroom, but the key to technology in the classroom is always going to be the teacher and student relationship, because that's where education happens. By using technology as an aid in the classroom, educators can create memorable and impactful learning outcomes for their diverse group of college and elementary students. In short, technology is a highly effective tool both teacher and students can benefit.
For teachers and teaching, there are numerous roles that technology plays in the job of teachers. As a tool, technology has opened wider avenues in management of resources and management of learning. Likewise, it has modernized the teaching-learning environment in schools. Here are some examples of the roles that technology can do for teachers and teaching. Number 1. Technology provides enormous support to the teacher as the facilitator of learning. It transforms a passive classroom to an active and interactive one, with audio-visual aids and models, smart classrooms, e-learning classrooms, which motivate and increase attention level of learners. Number 2. Technology has modernized the teaching-learning environment. The teachers are assisted and supplemented with appropriately structured instructional materials for daily activities. There are varied available technology-driven resources which can be utilized for remedial lesson or activities. Likewise, there are also a lot of technology-driven resources that can be used for enrichment purposes.
Technology improves teaching learning process and ways of teaching. This will make the act of teaching more efficient and effective. There are rise of teaching methods and strategies that can use technology which are found compatible with learning style. The multiple intelligence theory of Howard Gardner tells us that there is a genius in every child. This implies that there must be varied ways of teaching as there are many varied ways of learning. All the learning styles can find support from technology so that teaching will be more effective and efficient. The example for this is that teachers uses projector, laptop, television and other technology to teach their student easily and efficiently so that student will understand easily the topic and also they can be knowledgeable about the topic. Technology adds to the competence of teachers and inculcates scientific outlook. Through the utilization of theories of learning and intelligence which are explained in references uploaded in the net, the teachers are encouraged to imbibe skills to source this information with speed and accuracy. For example, like Galileo, Einstein, and other scientists, they will first research what information they will teach and spread so that people who will heard or read their information will be knowledgeable about it. Unlike this modern way of teaching, teacher will just use Google to research about their topic and what they will teach on their students. Technology supports teacher professional development. With the demand of continuing professional development for teachers, the availability of technology provides alternative way of attending professional development online. For those who are involved as providers of continuing professional development like trainers, facilitators, or organizers, they can level up or enhance their delivery system with the support of technology tools. For example, because of this pandemic, Chad was taken by surprise to suspend face-to-face classes due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was uncertainty among teachers, families, and society about how to continue education. So that teacher decided to use available virtual application and platforms to establish communication and accompany the students to offer meaningful and relevant learning. When using a virtual medium, it is especially important to respect student privacy and information security a priority. We are using phones, laptop, tablets, and other technology to have sessions on the Zoom's platforms. When we students receive the meeting IDs and password through Messenger, Google Classroom,
Sheila Rosa Kabuboy of B.Ed to B, Group 2. Letter B. For learners and learning. Number 1. Support learners to learn how to learn on their own. All teachers fully understand that subject matter or content is a means to achieve the learning outcomes. So according to Egbert 2009, there are 3 categories of knowledge. The first one is declarative knowledge, the second one is structural knowledge, and the last is procedural knowledge. A. Declarative knowledge consists of discrete pieces of information that answers the questions what, who, when, and where. It is often learned through memorization of facts, drills, and practice. It can be learned by simple mnemonics or conceptual maps. Declarative knowledge is the fundamental knowledge necessary for students to achieve more complex higher-order thinking such as critical thinking and creativity, inquiry, and production. Declarative knowledge, known as explicit knowledge, meaning that you are consciously aware that you understand the information. Examples of these are facts, history, or rules of mathematical equation. Letter B. Structural knowledge. consist of facts or pieces of declarative knowledge put together to attain some form of meaning. An example of declarative knowledge is a pencil. The idea that evolved from a pencil is an understanding that it is something used to write. This is referred to as structural knowledge. It can be presented by concept, maps, categorization, or classification. Procedural knowledge is a knowledge in action or the process. Procedural knowledge is a knowledge in action or the knowledge of how to do something. It is based on facts but learned through the process of procedural knowledge. Examples include how to drive a car, how to use a cell phone, or how to speak English. Another example is riding a bicycle. When someone is teaching you how to ride a bicycle, no matter what they say, you probably struggle to grasp it until you actually done it in a few times. Procedural knowledge is indicated by a performance, task, or graphical representation of a concept. The traditional sources of knowledge are printed books, modules, and journals. Other sources are primary sources, such as information taken from research. However, knowledge or content can be learned in many ways. But how can technology support the learning of declarative, structural, or procedural knowledge? To teach content, time is always an issue of teachers. Oftentimes, we hear teachers say, too many things to teach, too little time to do. Technology may be the answer, however, the challenge is for teachers to use technology to learn the technology first. The teacher can guide the students to look for the resources and to utilize them appropriately. There are varied programs that can be used by students, offline offline for students. What should be necessary is the students are engaged. The task should focus on questions like how, why, and which, in addition to who, what, when, and where.
2. Technology enhances learners' communication skills through social interactions. This is commonly described as the transmittal of information from one person to another as a single individual or groups of individuals. According to Shirley in 2003 and Egbert 2009, there are three basic communication patterns. First is point-to-point two-way or one-to-one, like internet chat, phone conversation, or even face-to-face conversation. Second, one-to-many, outbound, like a lecture or television. So there is no social interaction in it. For letter C, or the third, is many to many, like group discussion, bus, session heads together. This kind of interaction provides opportunities for social interactions. So, there are benefits derived from technology supported from communication. It enables any teacher to guide the learners virtually and make learning unlimited because communication and social interaction go beyond a school or a school environment. It enhances student freedom to express and exchange ideas freely without the snooping eyes of the teacher face to face. And it enhances learners to construct meaning from joint experience between the two or more participants in communication. And it helps learners to construct meaning from joint experiences between the two or more participants in communication. And it helps learners to construct meaning from joint experience between the two or more participants in communication. And it helps learners to solve problems from multiple sources since there are limitless sources of information that the teacher can direct or refer to the learners. And teachers learners to communicate with politeness, taking trust in sending information, and giving appropriate feedback. It enhances collaboration by using communication strategies with wider community and individuals in borderless learning environment. And the last, it is it develops critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity throughout the communication.
Of the teachers ask only simple questions like what, who, when, and where, although it is necessary, but those are simple questions and it does not develop the critical thinking of the students. To be able to develop the critical thinking of the students, questions should ask for clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, and logic. Clarity. Here are some examples. Can you give example of in order to accuracy? What pieces of evidence should claim? Precision. Exactly how much? Breadth. What do you think will the other group say about the issue? So letter B. Use critical thinking tasks with appropriate level of challenge. Teachers should be mindful of the readiness of the students. Students who have higher ability may find the task too easy, thus getting bothered early, while those who have low ability may find the task too difficult. Thus, there is a need to have activities that are appropriate for the learners. This can be determined by interview, observation, and other forms to determine the level of readiness. So, in making tasks, you should be mindful to the level of critical thinking of the students because there are some students that easily understand the task, but there are also some students who have low ability to find the task too difficult. So there are appropriate tasks for the students. Knowing only this by having some interview, observations, and other forms to be able to determine the level of readiness. So there are some simple ways that teachers should do. First is vary the questions asked, introduce new technologies, modify the learners' groupings, modify the critical thinking task, and lastly, encourage curiosity. So those are the simple ways that teacher should do. By nature, learners are curious. They ask lots of questions all the time. Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to learn geometry? How do people choose what will they become in the future? How can robots solve key problems of climate change? These questions will lead to critical thinking. But some of these questions cannot be answered by the teacher. The unanswered questions are avoided or answered unsatisfactorily. Sometimes, teachers shut down the questions are crucial, the first step in critical thinking. The internet as a problem-solving and research tools can help find the answers of the questions. So all of us must be curious why we need to study, why we need to be learned. Those are simple questions that already answered, but there are questions that must be hard to answer. That is why, with the use of technology, it helps us to find the answer easily. So that's all for my report should do. By nature, learners are curious. They ask lots of questions all the time. Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to learn geometry? How do people choose what will they become in the future? How can robots solve key problems of climate change? How? These questions will lead to critical thinking. But some of these questions cannot be answered by the teacher. The unanswered questions are avoided or answered unsatisfactorily. Sometimes, teachers shut down the questions are crucial, the first step in critical thinking. The internet as a problem-solving and research tools can help find the answers of the questions. So all of us must be curious why we need to study, why we need to be learned. Those are simple questions that already answered, but there are questions that must be hard to answer. That is why, with the use of technology, it help us to find the answer easily. So that's all for my report.
Creativity. It is characterized as involving the ability to think flexibly, fluently, originally, and elaborately. So what do we mean by flexibly? It means enabled to use many points of view. Fluently, it means enabled to generate many ideas. Originally, it means implies being able to generate. Elaborately, it means able to add details. Creativity is not merely a set of technical skills, but it also involves feeling, beliefs, knowledge, and motivation. And for me, creativity is linked into a passion. And for example, if you are passionate about something, you may be more able to think. And creativity is a central source of meaning in our lives because we can express ourselves by being creative, especially those things that are interesting and important. Because we are a human beings and we are born by being a creative. So there are 7 creative strategies and it's been simplified po into a fewer categories. And we can use we can use any of these 7 creative strategies. First is the substitute. We need to find something else to replace to do what it does. Kasi the word substitute is kapalit. So halimbawa, kapag wala ang isang bagay na gagamitin mo sana, maghahanap ka ng pwedeng pangpalit sa kanya. Halimbawa nito, kung may ginagawa tayo kagaya ng mga handmade na projects, yung tipong gusto mo ng kulay pink na construction paper na ilalagay sa project mo pero wala ka nun, so pwede mong gamitin ang ibang kulay bilang kapalit sa pink. Kumbaga, mag-iisip ka kung ano pang kulay ang babagay sa ginagawa mo para mapunan ang dapat kay pink. Ang mapipiling panibagong kulay ang siyang tatawaging substitute dahil siya na ang ipapalit. Kumbaga, huwag tayong maghanap ng mga bagay na wala naman sa atin. Bagkus, kung ano it available, asya na lang po it gagamiton. Next is combine. Blend two things that do not usually go together. So yung dalawang magkaibang bagay ay pinagsama at sa pamamagitan nito ay makakagawa ka ng panibagong produkto. Halimbawa sa kulay ulit. Suminsan ang boring kapag isang kulay lang ang nakikita natin sa isang bagay o produkto. Kaya para mas maging makulay ito at para din may kabuhay-buhay, may iba't ibang kulay tayong pinagsasama-sama. Kagaya ng kulay light blue at pink. Sa kombinasyon ng magkaibang bagay, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng interes kaysa sa plain na iisa lang dahil sa nililikha nitong panibagong ganda. Next is adapt. Look for other ways this can be used. Kung may bagay ka na gagamitin, hahanap ka ng paraan kung paano at saan mo ito gagamitin. Hindi yung lagay ka lang ng lagay kung saan-saan kahit hindi naman kailangan. Dapat alam mo kung saan ito dapat gamitin. Next is modify, magnify, or minify. Uusala po ito. Make a change, enlarge, or decrease. Babaguhin mo o i-adjust. Kagaya na lang sa paggawa ng PowerPoint presentation. Titingnan mo kung paano mo i-adjust ang mga letra. Bagay ba yung laki ng fonts o masyadong maliit para makita ng mambabasa? Next, put to another use or find other uses. Ito naman ang mga bagay na tila para sa iyo ay hindi na magagamit pa para sa particular na gawain. Pag-isipan at huwag lang mag-stick sa kung ano lang ang nalalaman. I-try mong gamitin sa ibang paraan. Iyan ang pagiging creative. Is eliminate. reduce or remove. Pagtanggal sa mga hindi naman kailangan. Kasi kung ang isang bagay ay hindi naman kailangan sa kanyang kinalalagyan, tanggalin. Kasi minsan, ang paglalagay ng masyadong maraming disenyo o kung ano pa ay nagiging sanhi ng pagkasira sa ganda ng iyong proyekto. Next is reverse. Turn upside down, inside out, front side back. Kumbaga, kung ang isang bagay ay mas makakatulong sa iyong proyekto kung ito ay nakabaligtad, gawin mo. Hindi porket ganun siya ay dapat ganun na. I-reverse kung kinakailangan. Kung hain sa tingin mo it maupay or swak na format, then do it. As a future educator, we can support the students to be more creative. So here are some suggestions. So first, we need to provide an enriched environment. Creativity requires a safe environment in which to play, exercise autonomy, and take risk. And for me, as a future educator, we need to create a compassionate and accepting environment. A compassionate and accepting environment is not an environment that lacks on academic rigor. What I mean is, in this environment, students are understood to be complex people. Kumbaga, kailangan punirahin environment na mafe-feel punira na belong puhira, nga na-exist puhira. And then, we need to provide an environment wherein the student voices and student ideas are being prioritized. Next, teach creative thinking strategies. We can teach creative thinking strategies to help the students to be more creative or to improve their thinking skills. For example, we can make a brainstorming so that we can freely express our ideas, and the brainstorming have to provide an environment that allows people or learners to open up and share their thoughts and ideas without prejudice or limitations. And also, we need to remember that creative thinking skills is really important because it gives you a freedom and set your mind free to explore other perspectives. Allow learners to show what they can do. So kumbaga, hayaan naton na ipakita nira kung anulat ira kaya. Diri ka igpe-pressure naton hira, dapat sugad haditim himuon, dapat sugad kan kuan, dapat sugad kahusay. Kay we need to remember na every learners is different in their learning and interest. Ngayon, we can establish a supportive relationship to the learners. Kumbaga, we need to focus on what the learners can do rather than what he or she cannot do and build on his or her strengths. So, we need to work with these differences so that we can say na we are a better teacher. Next, use creativity with technology. We can use a technology to advance or to enhance the learner's creativity, because learners can able to search things and discover new information they didn't know. Kaya syempre, nag-explore man hira. Then because of technology, we can able to help the learners to improve or to boost their creativity. Further, teachers can do the following suggestions to develop and enhance critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. So first, we need to encourage students to find and use information from variety of sources, both online and offline. We need to encourage the learners or students to find some information both online and offline para makalikom hira hindamo na mga ideas or information. Example, itat makukuhaan hin mga information online is the social media or the internet, because we can get quality information on the social media or the internet, and then learners can find different types of information. And social media and internet can help to develop the critical thinking skills of a learners. Next, assist students to compare information from different sources. We need to assist the students to compare information from different sources because it is important to be able to compare and contrast ideas found in multiple sources to enable them to identify conflicting information and consistent information. Kay kung compare and contrast naton, we can make a inferences and we can also draw a conclusions about that topic. Next, allow the students to reflect through different delivery moods like writing, speaking, or drawing. So we need to allow the students or learners. It's because para ma-recognize students kung haing good hira swak or suitable. Kung makaretira ha writing, speaking, dancing, drawing, then let them be. Next is use real experiences and materials to draw tentative decisions. Next, involve students in creating and questioning assessment. It is important to involve the students or learners in the assessment or questioning, biskan formal or informal na assessment, because it's a way of helping the learners to increase their awareness of the learning outcomes, ngan para masabtan kung talagang they gain the required skills or knowledge, and then to find out if may nabaroan talaga hira. As a future educator, we need to motivate the students with learning and exploring. We need to be very organized and creative. When students are able to use creativity, it enhances them and helps them in their learning process. And as a future educator, we have to encourage the learners or students to become more creative. And for example, ako, as a future educator, the only thing that I could promise is I would guide the student whenever they need it. I'll teach them the right things with patience, syempre.